How well do I know myself? Have you ever asked yourself that question? If you have, then here are 30 questions that anyone can use to evaluate their self-awareness. First, there's the basic understanding of yourself. Have you ever sat down and taken a good look at yourself? Here are 10 questions to get to know yourself. You may want to watch this video again to get them all, or stop and write them down. Question number 1. What are my core values and how do they guide my decisions? Everyone operates from a core value system. They guide your decision-making process for better or worse. Number 2. What are my strengths and how do I use them in my daily life? Make a list of your strengths and see how you can use them for your maximum advantage. 3. What are my weaknesses and how am I working to improve them? You need to identify your weaknesses. It's a good chance others already know what they are. 4. What activities or situations make me feel most alive and fulfilled? Answering this question helps to identify your passions and purpose in life. 5. What drains my energy and how do I address it? Sometimes certain people are energy drainers and you need to lessen contact with them. 6. What are my short-term and long-term goals? This certainly should be done with pen and paper and put somewhere you can view them daily. 7. How do I define success for myself? Success means something different to each individual. What does it look like for you? 8. What fears or insecurities often hold me back? Identify your fears and bring them to the forefront. That's the only way to combat them. 9. What does my inner critic often say and how do I respond to it? Everyone has that awful inner critic. Brutal and abusive, it's constantly criticizing. And number 10. How do I react to failure or setbacks? Do you fold up and cave in, or do you grieve for a while and get back on your feet? Take time to think thoroughly about these questions and your answers. You should know yourself better than anyone else knows you. Shakespeare said in one of his plays, "To thine own self be true." Next, let's move on to emotional awareness. This is where it gets good. Question number 1. How do I typically feel when I wake up in the morning? This is important because it sets the stage for your entire day. Do you wake up with dread, depression, frustration, anger, or joy and anticipation? Number 2. How do I process and express my emotions, both positive and negative? Do you hold them in or dump them on everyone you come in contact with? 3. What triggers my strongest emotional reactions? If that emotion is anger, ask yourself how many times a day you experience it. How long does it last and what can you do about it? 4. How do I cope with stress or overwhelm? Without a coping mechanism, you're setting yourself up for mental health issues. Alcohol and drugs are not the answer. 5. How do I handle criticism or feedback from others? Do you retaliate with your own criticism or use it constructively for self-growth? 6. How do I celebrate my achievements or successes? Using alcohol or drugs to celebrate can often lead to addiction. Find another less destructive way. 7. What role does gratitude play in my life? Are you giving yourself at least 3 things daily to be grateful for? Surely 3 things shouldn't be hard to find. 8. How often do I reflect on my emotions and what causes them? This one practice alone will put you ahead of 90% of the adult population. Here's where you get personal with evaluation of your relationships and interactions with others. Question number 1. How do I show empathy and compassion toward others? If you don't possess either of these, you may be a narcissist. Hopefully not. Or are you able to put yourself in others' shoes? Can you feel their pain? Number 2. How well do I listen during conversations? Are you truly listening or just waiting for the other person to finish so you can talk? Are you present and not daydreaming and drifting in your mind? 3. How do I handle conflict with others? Am I a grown-up or do I act like a 2-year-old? 4. Do I notice patterns in how I interact with friends, family, and colleagues? If there are patterns, do they bring out the best in you? 5. How do I communicate my needs and boundaries to others? Are you afraid to communicate your boundaries to others? If so, why? 6. How do others perceive me, and does it align with how I see myself? This one is crucial and should be done with a trusted friend. Often the way we see ourselves may not be based on reality. 7. Do I often compare myself to others? If so, why? This shouldn't be hard to identify. Watch yourself the next time you're on social media. How does comparison make you feel inside? And lastly, how keen is your awareness of your habits and behaviors? Question number 1. What daily habits or routines positively or negatively impact my well-being? There's no time for self-denial. Be honest with yourself. Number 2. How do I make decisions rationally, emotionally, or a mix of both? Have you ever taken the time to think about this? It's an important question and deserves an in-depth answer. 3. How do I spend my free time, and does it reflect my values and priorities? Is it time for change? What does the way you spend your free time tell you about yourself? 4. What habits or behaviors would I like to change, and why? What behaviors or habits are holding you back from becoming the success you dream of? 5. How do I respond to situations beyond my control? Do you get despondent and throw a fit? Do you act like a 2-year-old? Or do you accept it as it is and move on? Congratulations on completing the self-awareness evaluation. Now go out and live your life to the fullest. You only get this one chance. Why not make the most of it?